Well, thanks so much for staying with us. Back now on The Exchange, and we also live on our Facebook page at Capi Talk FM. Please do join us there and follow the conversation. Now, in The Exchange this evening, all talk is around promoting local brands in the market. And I'm so excited and very happy to be joined by Patson Gasura. He's the CEO of Topline Research Solutions. I like to call him the main man. PG, the main man. Hi, PG. How's it going?
Hi, Rumbi. Thank you very much. It's good to be back on The Exchange.
Fantastic.
I hope you're well.
I'm great. And really excited to dive into this idea of local brands and the science behind it. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, the case for branding for Zimbabwe, particularly local brands.
Yeah.
You work extensively with research, with brands, with, different markets. What does the case for branding look like in general before we break it down?
Yes, I think it's in transition. Branding the way it is in textbooks, I think it's evolving. Mm-hmm. So for us, what we decided to focus on is what we call the Zimbabwe best ghetto brands. So we are looking at every market one at a time so that we can really deep dive into the dynamics around that, so that when we inform those we are trying to target, it's really, a step-by-step and in-depth approach so that there is understanding. We think there's some work to be done in the area of branding.
Okay, so there seems to be what I was trying to pussyfoot around it, but it's okay. So is there a difference between the ghetto market and what do you call the other side, and the low density market, according to you, and particularly the way that brands are viewed by the market?
Yeah, so you see, to me, the concept of branding is in the consumer's mind. You talk about brand equity, which is basically the strength of a brand in the mind of the customer. So it's a conceptual. So they look at different products, different names of products which are supposed to be brands, and then they say, which one performs? Which one can I afford? In fact, which one am I happy to be seen using by my peers? So branding in itself is a function of performance, price or affordability, and then affinity. So you ask a question, is it different? Then that says, in terms of the way somebody who is from the low density and somebody from the ghetto, and when we say ghetto, by the way, it's from pride. I grew up in the ghetto myself.
No.
And one of the things we're trying to do.
Not.
In fact, I grew up in the rural areas and then came to the ghetto through school, and I spent a lot of my time in there. So and then doing research sort of helped with my perception to things. I've got more eyes as a result of the research we do. So the way customers in the rural areas look at brands, the way those in the ghetto look at brands, and the way those who are in the low density were supposed to be the high income. And I say supposed because it's not necessarily. We all know money is not necessarily in the low density. So the way these people look at brands tends to be different. And there are some exciting differences, which is why we decided to have a conversation with you as media, so that we create that awareness and that realization that one size does not fit all. You really need to look at the ghetto as a special space. You remember, Rumbi, even during the liberation struggle, liberation stalwarts tended to be domiciled in the high density areas for some reason. In South Africa, Comrade Nelson Mandela was in Soweto. Here home, the late R.G. Mugabe was domiciled in Highfields. Why? Because innovation around winning wars was domiciled in the ghettos. So for this one, we then said, we're going through not liberation war, but we're going through an economic war. Companies, businesses are going through pain, and customers are also going through pain. And we're now saying, I think with our lenses as researchers, let's showcase to these businesses that there is actually money in the ghetto. Because people in the ghetto, unlike those in the lower densities you're asking, when things are tough, they don't rush to relocate and go elsewhere. They find something to do. They make a plan. And when they make a plan, at times it looks like it's criminal activities, but actually it's serious innovation when you look at it positively. So that is what we seek to do, to highlight those differences through this product. It's through this concept of Zimbabwe best ghetto brands, which we hope will help businesses look at the ghetto with positive lenses.
Indeed, and I think it's also important we go a little bit further and bust some myths. I know there's a lot of negative associations with the ghetto, and I like how you've owned it and said, oh no, you're not the high market, traffic, the high traffic marketplace, ghetto, kudasti, kujeta. You're owning it and saying, it's our term and it's something that we wear with pride. But in terms of breaking down some of those myths and in telling the story, which your report does, what are some of those? You talk about criminal activity, but what are some of the things that were glaring to you as you were doing this research that maybe people on the other side of town don't understand, that corporates don't understand about the ghetto?
Yes, very clear. Maybe before I get there, Rumbi, let me contextualize what it is that we did. So what we did is basically research. ZBGB is a research report. Zimbabwe-based ghetto brands is a report that we decided to do. We're going to do it biannually, and we officially launched it on the 13th of July, and saying to businesses, here is a report that tracks innovation, that tracks relevance. If you do business in the ghetto, here is a report that shall tell you what the ghetto customers look for, and to what extent are you relevant compared to your competitors. And we tracked more than 25 categories: fast-moving consumer goods, services, and so forth. And we're basically asking people in all the ghettos in Zimbabwe, in the urban centers, and saying, which brands in this category would you say is the best? Let's talk about bread category. Let's talk about toilet soaps. Let's talk about cooking oil. Let's talk about telecoms. Let's talk even about supermarkets, even pharmacies. Which brands do you think are the best to you? Now, to your question now, what we observe as we were in the townships and doing research, we find that there are some interesting trends which sort of defy some of the myths you're talking about. And some of these trends are pretty much positive trends. The first one is, those with negative lenses will call it hustling. Those with positive lenses will call it entrepreneurship. You see, some use very scary terms to describe the dynamics from both the supply and the demand side of the township economy. But as researchers who are between businesses and customers, we choose to be positive and objective about it. Entrepreneurship is a trend. I mean, you see there are car washes everywhere. There's vending everywhere. Of late, there's even firewood that people sell as we face challenges of electricity. To me, that's entrepreneurship. If you go to many households in the townships, there is very little that you can't find. If you go to a house and say, I want some change, you'll probably get it. If you are looking for some food stuff, some products, you'll get it. Whatever challenge, if you want airtime, they'll give you. Before the show, you were telling me you're not feeling well. What got you sorted was actually not formal medication.
I'll confess and say I'm talking about tsunami. And I've never seen it in a pharmacy, but I gotta say it works. Here I am.
Yeah, there you go. So that's somebody who is being entrepreneurial in providing a medical solution through those informal means. We also see a trend towards buying local. Because these guys are in the ghettos, they are facing the hardships. They don't have that dollar to go to town. They don't even have that job. So they design something like what we call decanting. They buy something that is 2 liters, something that is 5 liters, and they repackage it to make it affordable to the local community. And people within those areas would rather buy this decanted product because that suits what they have in their wallet. And this is happening with sectors like your your meat sector. People would rather buy meat from a local supplier than a formal. The same with maize meal. People would rather buy mugaiwa, for example, and you've got lots of that. So that's a trend where people are preferring to buy from those who are creative enough to supply and make it convenient for them locally. Another exciting one for me, which is also a surprise, is the eating out trend, because dad and mom are never at home. The youth are never at home. They are, varungwava, as you're saying, they are hustling elsewhere. They are trying to make ends meet. So there's no way to cook their meals, so they have to eat out. And that's a trend that those who are in this kind of industry have got to notice positively and make it convenient for people to get their food. And then the nightlife trend. If you go there around 5, around 6, you see young men, young ladies, they're actually dressing up. They are going to the road to jump into a combi to go somewhere. Or if not going to jumping into a combi within their area, Kubudiriro Ikoko, they are going somewhere where they are going to have fun with their friends. But an interesting thing is there's also business exchange that goes on as that happens. Now for example, the capital city is supposed to be called Harare. Harare, you and me, when it's 5, when it's 6, we want to rush home. But the ghetto is saying, with these times being this hard, at Harare, those with negative eyes will only see the criminal activities, they will see the prostitution, and they will complain and fringe and say, but these are school kids. Many of them are going out there to not just partake in prostitution, but they actually have some products that they are selling to other patrons who will be engaging different activities at night. The school dropouts is a trend. School doesn't seem to be, to the naked eye, it doesn't look as valuable as it used to be yesteryears because of this search for income, because of this search for survival. We think it is a trend that needs to be better understood, and for those who deal with families, there is need for engagement to really say, is this dropout or some of these school-going people are actually encouraged by parents, by guardians, to rather not go to school but engage in activities that allow the household to survive. So to me, it's not necessarily a negative trend. We're also seeing the emergence of politicians, if you allow me, where elderly men in the townships can't afford to go ekaya, kumusha, when they're off or when they are on leave. They simply can't. But if there are political activities that are going on, they are happy to join, almost like an occupation, to be panevangwe, So we're seeing men, elderly men, joining activities. We don't know, and I don't want to discount the work that political parties could be doing to attract crowds. But there's that clear trend. If there's an activity, I'll go there. The same with churches. There seems to be more love for the Almighty.
Controversial one, those last two.
We're seeing people going in large numbers in evenings for all-night prayers. It's no longer a Sunday event only. And then those who are involved with religious gatherings, we thought they need to take note of that trend. Whether people are praying for survival, for the hardships, or it's true genuine love for the Almighty, we don't know, but it's a clear trend, and many more.
You know what's so intriguing is the fact that, this started off, or, someone who's listening to this conversation might think, I've got a product that I'm selling, or I'm in marketing, or I'm a company, I'm a corporate who's actually selling something. But the branding extends even to services and to, religion and to some of those other things. Maybe, tell us a little more about the inspiration behind tracking, and the fact that it's not just, brand in terms of product that you're just going to buy.
Yeah. So when we came with this idea, I should have mentioned that a colleague from Southern Africa Development Consultants, SODECO, Jocelyn Stolle, actually is the one who approached me at Top Line Research Solutions and saying, we have got an idea. There's something that we need to do in our constituency as researchers to really make sure that we change, we challenge the mindset. For example, she wanted us to challenge, for example, marketers, that the way our marketers are looking at their products, particularly in the ghetto, we don't think it's correct. It's complete, let me put it that way. It's correct, but not necessarily complete in our judgment. Because most of it tends to happen from, like your air-conditioned office here, and you are trying to market to somebody in the ghetto that you have never been to. And then we also wanted to challenge our colleagues, the creatives, the advertising agencies, because we're observing that some of the adverts, some of the communications we see, they look world-class, first-class. But for what we know, our economy is largely informal. And many of these informal activities are driven from the ghetto. But when you compare the target, the ghetto people, and some of the communications, we felt there was like a mismatch. And then lastly, it's you, the media, the communication people, in terms of the relevance of the stories. We really felt, in order to make sure these brands resonate with the target audience, there is need for information that help you better package your messages. Otherwise, there's a very clear disconnect. So Jocelyn and I sort of agreed, very much agreed, and she also saw it from South Africa, doing a lot of work in townships. As you know, in Southern Africa, Soweto is one of the biggest townships. Many of the trends in South Africa, they are actually ignited in a township. So she then said, look, why don't we do the same home? We don't seem to have that appreciation of the power of townships as a space where creative branding could be done.
So this is a tool in essence, isn't it?
Yes, it is a tool.
To be used by who?
It's a tool to be used by businesses, because we think currently businesses, although we all ask where is the money, we as researchers, we see monies in the informal sector, and those who work in the informal sector are largely from the ghetto. So we want this tool to be used by the businesses, particularly led by the marketing people, to connect with this money. Because if you've not understood the mindset of these ghetto people, you will not touch their money. Remember, their money, they make it in response to hardships. So when they spend it, it's not easy for them to spend it. You've got to be really relevant with your product. Your product must be truly a solution. And that's my basic understanding of marketing. You have to be a solution to the consumer's problems. And then secondly, who should use it again? Those who are responsible for amplifying the story about the brands, whom I'm calling the creatives, our advertising agencies. They have got to pay attention to these insights about what makes a typical ghetto customer. What is their mind like? What are their wishes? What are their aspirations? What is their typical day like? You know, when we unpack a typical mother, their day from the time they wake up to the day when they sleep, you look at a typical father, and then you look at a typical youth, man or woman, girl or boy. They are all involved in serious activities that you would ask yourself a question: where are businesses in this? Because all those activities, to us, they are opportunities for businesses to respond to.
Reminds me of a topic of composition we once had, a day in the life of a shoe. And I'm just trying to imagine a shoe walking from the ghetto and getting all that in just bringing that story together. And I've got to say, quite compelling and very eye-opening. If you're just joining us, this is a very critical conversation around promoting local brands in the market. Speaking to Patson Gasura, Topline Research Solutions CEO, as we unpack Zimbabwe best ghetto brand. And he's just giving us some of the inspiration behind it, who should use this amazing tool. And as we get deeper into the conversation, please do join in at 0719 100 404. But what is clear is that the ghetto is more lucrative than the other side of town, isn't it, basically?
It is, Rumbi. In fact, when you ask who should use it, apart from those three, if you look at our friends in government, we were all exposed to the popular phrase that Zimbabwe is open for business. And we also meet many people who ask, where is Zimbabwe open? Even people outside the country, they'll be like, where? So those responsible for transmitting that message that Zimbabwe is open for business, they've got to to expose themselves to this report to clearly see that where do the ghetto people need partnerships with other foreign investors. Because these guys have started enterprises, as I've said, and many of them, they are informal. They just need to be scaled up. They've already started. Imagine if those in government have got something like a prospectus, a booklet that lists various entities in the various sectors that are in the ghetto. They've started, there is money that is moving there, but they are just not formalized. They don't have a structure. And then partners will come and say, you've already started, you want to scale up. We'll give you a structure, we'll give you resources, we'll give you skills. We will soon start seeing enterprises mushrooming in the ghettos. So we are really about helping these people to formalize by simply providing evidence. They talk about evidence-based interventions. Even investors, when they come, they want to say, where should I go with the money? Can you show me the facts? And this ZBGB is a report. And for what we know, research is about facts. And therefore they could respond. Then universities. We think universities also need to use this report. Why? Because for you and me, no, universities are supposed to be research institutions. They are supposed to pick topics out of these trends. They are exposed to resources and make this bigger than it is and make it more useful to the various constituencies. Universities are supposed to be innovation hubs. And we are saying at ZBGB, we have seen that ghettos are actually innovation hubs from the simple reason that as things continue to bite, as the economy continues to bite, I'm telling you, the ghetto people seem to have more fun than those domiciled because of the literary activities that they do, the solutions that they create for themselves. Yeah, but agreed, everything that they do tends to be micro. But nevertheless, we think if it allows people to survive, it's typical of what innovation is all about. And then the SMEs. We are an SME country. We are an SME economy for what we know. And any SME must have ambitions to grow. And we are positioning the ghetto as a market. You know, if you look at the figures for the high-density areas for Zimbabwe alone, if you work out the population there, for the high-density alone, it's a combination of Botswana, Swaziland, Lesotho, and Namibia together. The population of those countries is equal to the population of the high-density areas in Zimbabwe. That is a serious business case. Before we even talk about how much money is exchanging hands in the ghettos. So if you're an SME and you have ambitions to grow, there is a clear market. And lastly, our graduates. Remember, in the country, we have this contradiction of 90% literacy or educated versus, I don't know what percent is unemployment now, but a few years ago, we were being told 80-something percent, 90% unemployed. So people are graduating to be unemployed. And we are saying classroom to boardroom. You graduate, through this report, you will get ideas of how to start your own business. You don't have to go outside the country. You don't have to go to factories that do not exist. Simply check around within the ghetto. You will find that somebody has started a factory right there. It might look micro or small, but you get your idea to start your own businesses. And that's a local solution, isn't it?
Local solutions for local problems, indeed. Now, digging a little bit deeper into the report in itself, the Zimbabwe Best Ghetto Brands, what categories did you cover? I know we don't have a lot of time, so as many as you can, as you can spell out, in this conversation. What categories did you look at?
Yeah. So I think the key thing is to say we covered the services sector, and then we covered the FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods sector. So by services, we are talking about your banks. The banking sector, we covered it. We got the township people to say which bank is the best according to them in the ghetto. We're talking about retail, supermarkets. When you go for grocery here in Highfields, here in Angamvura, which supermarket do you think is the best for you? The same for pharmacies. When you're not feeling well, you see a doctor and they say go to a pharmacy. Which pharmacy do you think is the best there? Same with ICT. When you want data, when you want to get your airtime and all to buy a phone, whatever it is, ICT sector, who are the service providers you find to be the best? Right up to 14 services sectors we covered. Then for FMCG, these are your products covering your foods, your tinned foods, for example. When you're thinking of buying your food, when you think even drinks like beer, which food categories do you find, which food brands do you find to be the best, including your bread, your baked beans, even your crisps and so forth. And then personal care categories, your toilet soaps, your deodorants. If you're thinking of anything to take care of yourself, which brands do you think are the best? And then home care, including your laundry bars, your detergents, your washing powders. And we're getting people to say within these categories, which brands do you think is the best? And one of the interesting things we observed, which we feel businesses will see as a challenge, there are so many brands that are tried and tested, and they are actually synonymous with the category. But when we're asking people for which brand is the best in this category, it would not necessarily be mentioned as the best in the township. And this is the relevance check that we want to try and challenge the businesses and say, in your own boardroom, in your own factory, even if you use global standards, indeed, you have got very high equity. But for what the ghetto customer is going through now, unfortunately, you are not the best according to their own definition. So we are trying to challenge this mismatch where businesses think, oh, we have got a credible product, we are ISO certified, we are this. You put it in the townships, you get surprised it's not moving. Why? Because the economic times are different, and people in the ghetto are saying, this is my dollar I made for myself from my own business. You don't seem to be convenient to use. Your quality is great, but you're not convenient. Or it could be that your kind of pricing is beyond my reach. So I agree, it's best, but it's good quality, but for my and my family, you are not the best at this point in time. So we think if businesses don't listen to that sort of warning, there shall come a time when these ghetto households will actually be serious competition to some of the global brands.
Wow. And I think another trend that I'm also picking up is when, that market is not happy with a product, they'll make their own.
Yeah.
I've seen quite a lot of, particularly in the self-care category, I've seen bubble bath being made, soap, toilet cleaner, floor cleaner,
yes,
as a as a
furniture.
bridge, even furniture, rightfully so, even furniture.
Yeah, because when the companies were closed, the so-called global companies, international companies were closed, when the country decided to go local about everything. It's companies that got closed, but fortunately or unfortunately, the skills were not closed, right? So people stopped going to Southampton to some factory somewhere there, but within their house in Mpopoma, they are still able to use the same skills to produce the same quality of furniture that you used to go to a formal furniture shop to buy from. So those are some of the realities that we would want businesses to take note of, that the skills, for as long as they continue existing in the country, in what others would call informal sector or ghetto, because ghetto was a supplier of labor for industries, don't forget. Many of the low-density people were in white-collar jobs. when the blue collar were in the industries, and when they got retrenched, they reside in the ghetto. And through these skills, they are actually able to produce substitutes that get these business people wondering, where is the money?
Where's the money indeed? Such an insightful conversation. We are also live on Facebook. This is The Exchange on Capi Talk 100.4 FM as we unpack local brands, and particularly Zimbabwe Best Ghetto Brand, a report that was prepared by Topline Research Solution in conjunction with Sodeco.
Yes.
That takes a real look at market trends, what's prevailing in the ghetto, where the money is, useful as a tool for many stakeholders to make decisions, to product place, and just to better understand, even if, just to have an understanding of things happening around.
Oh yes, because we are not just asking the best brands. After they've identified their best brand in the category, we then say, why is it the best? And then they start articulating what makes it relevant. It could be things like proximity to the household. Now I don't have to jump into a combi and do shopping in town. It is right here, and for that reason, it is the best. It could be to do with quality or efficacy. It simply gets the job done faster. Like one of them, for example, beer. One of the best brands in beer has got the highest alcohol content. For the times that I am, if I spend my $1 or $2, this product must do the job very fast. The same with washing powders. A little must go a long way. So they've got real arguments. It's not always about pricing, because this is the mistake at times people make, that if I make it the cheapest and put it in the townships there, it will do well. So you're quite right, Rumbi, that it will enable them to understand the rationale behind choice of their brand, of the competitor.
And that is so important. Now, as always, we've got to look at the manner in which the research was done. Was it robust? I mean, what sort of sample size were you working with? What kind of variables did you consider, in making sure that the report is empirical and that it is robust?
Yeah, very, very important question. I think before people look at any data, they've got to look at the credibility of the process itself. So what we did is a blend of what we call quantitative research and qualitative research. And very crudely, quantitative research is the type of research you do if you are interested in measurement. So you're saying, what proportion of customers in the ghetto love this brand? What proportion love it for this reason? That's quantitative research. And you need to interview as many people as possible. Now, we interviewed 1,000 household, 1,000 consumers in the 5 major cities in Zimbabwe. And by research standards, 1,000 interviews, especially for a country of our population, that's quite robust. There are quite many studies, if you check, where companies do just 300 interviews, 200 interviews, and they still pick the story and get the insights. So that's robust. The second part is the qualitative part. Again, crudely stated, qualitative research is the type of research you do if you are interested in understanding. It's not measurement, it's understanding. So it's not about interviewing too many people. It's about interviewing the right people. So we did focus groups, get what we call experts, consumers, those who are like subject matter experts. They are real ghetto people. They live in the ghetto, they make their money, they spend their money. And we asked these same people through the focus groups the same questions. Which brands are the best for these categories and why? So if you do quantitative and qualitative, that's about everything you need to do. Before that, we did some literature review through reading what's happening next door, like South Africa being the benchmark. They've got their own ghetto brands exercise that they do. We did pay attention to that. We bettered it to be local to our case. And in terms of scope, ours is even bigger. If you're talking sample sizes, it's bigger. But South Africa is what? 5 times, more than 5 times the size of this country. So nobody should really say, I can't buy the report. It's not credible because of the research design.
It's good to ask. I think it's really important that you set that out. Avanyase was the OG. What we're getting, is it the real McCoy?
Yeah.
Now, we've spoken about, who the stakeholders are. We've spoken about the methods used. We've spoken about the credibility. We've spoken about the utility of this report.
Yes.
And we also spoke about the launch on the 13th of July. So what happens next now that you've launched this report?
Yes, right now, and I must say, thank you to those who were involved. The event was oversubscribed, actually. Being an inaugural launch, we were pleasantly surprised. Many of the people who came actually had not confirmed. And I said to my colleagues, remember, we're in an informal environment. Very few people formalize. It was very successful. Now, we busy dishing out what we launched, which is the report. We're getting so many inquiries and people are buying. And the next step is we are going to do a second half of the year launch before the end of November. We're going to release another report. And this second report, we would want the users, the target users as I've itemized, need to come to us and say, these are elements that we're missing in the report that we would prefer that they be covered. To begin with, we did not cover all the sectors that contribute to the economy here. Jocelyn and I used our judgment together with our staff and say, which categories do we see as most visible in the ghettos? Can we include those? But there could be many others that are contemplating going into the ghetto or others that are even hesitant. So we would like it to be expanded and be repeated in the ghetto. The other thing is rural is another market, very important for what we know Zimbabwe is a rural country. And the rural economy is very critical for the country to realize its vision, as it were. So we'd like to also profile and showcase brands that really resonate with the wishes and aspirations of rural consumers. And then ultimately, we'll go back to our friends in the low density areas. Yes, we do know there's money there, and we are going to also cover them. And lastly, which is Jocelyn's favorite, is taking it into the diaspora. We want to start by going into the region in sub-Saharan Africa and see which companies, which brands that are of Zimbabwean parentage are actually relevant in Zambia, are relevant in Rwanda, are relevant in South Africa. Because for what you and me know, we're all looking for US dollars. And they're available in abundance, just next door. But the condition is relevance to the target consumer. And that's precisely what this ZBG is all about. We did this, yes, 1,000 is robust, but it needs to be bigger. This was self-initiated, self-funded. It's the risk we took from the conviction that businesses that are worth their salt will definitely need a copy of this report.
And the pièce de resistance, the meat and two potatoes. How does one get the Zimbabwe Best Ghetto Brand Report?
Well, it's easy. Rumbi. It's just sending us an email. If people go to our website, www.toplineres.com, toplineres.com. They will be directed to where our offices are. Otherwise, it's a matter of sending an email. Sandra is our research manager who is responsible for the product. So Sandra at toplineres.com. Again, the same. We will be able to get assisted. You place your order, you do what needs to be done. Within 24 hours, the report will be emailed to you. And the beauty is you may be in one particular sector, but you are competing with other sectors. You're competing for the wallet. It's share of the wallet. So we thought it's important that somebody who is in this category should also be exposed to what this other category is doing in terms of the needs that they are focusing on. So that if you can take that into account, you may be the most relevant in the ghetto. You may be among the brands of the brands, the best of the best.
And I mean, obviously, who came out tops? We also want to know that. Are you at liberty to say, or this has to be only revealed if one purchases the report? Who came out on the top in the ghetto?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I should have cleared with the company that came out tops. In each category, remember, in each category, there is a number one.
I see.
But there are some categories where the number one was voted by 80% of the ghetto customers. And this is a figure, a realistic figure, where the number one, 80% of the ghetto people said this brand is the best in this category. But we also have categories where a brand was said to be the best in their category and it was voted for by 15% of the ghetto consumers, you realize.
I see.
So you are the best in your category because there are so many other players, or you've got too much competition from homegrown products. There are some categories where we ask the ghetto consumers, which one do you think is the best? And they say, Bucharira, Pasta Soren So Repakonap is our best. Or Pharmacy, yeah, Mrs. Soren So is the best. You know, they are not really branded service products, but they are the ones, they are the best. So we then had to settle for the second best, which could be a distant second with 12% or something like that. Yeah, but they are real. It was good to see that they are real brands that are connecting with the ghetto consumers.
Interesting and knowledge.
Yeah, next time you can ask me, I can come back when I've cleared and I can announce names.
All right. Well, since you
Thanks,
said
Rumbi.
this is the first stage,
Yeah.
and that there will be more to come, we definitely will take you up on that.
Thank you.
And I do hope that all those stakeholders and those affected can reach you. Maybe repeat that email address one more time.
Yes, they can email Sandra, Sandra, at toplineres.com. Sandra at toplineres.com. She should be able to respond with the report.
Brilliant. And once you have that tool, knowing is half the battle. Now, thank you so much, PG, for being with us this evening. Your parting shot to close off this really engaging conversation. And I tell you what, anyone listening now is going to be after this report to start making some real moves. Your parting shot.
Yes, my parting shots are that I think all of us have reached a stage where we realize nobody from outside the country is going to come and help us. We have decided as a research constituency to play our part. And all we are contributing is information. Once you have information, once you have got facts about the target market, it's really up to what you do with it. So there you go, grab your report. And we're complementing other existing efforts. As you know, Rumbi, there are a lot of other organizations that pump out information out there. But when we analyzed, nobody was exactly focusing on the ghetto specifically. There's a lot of national studies that are done. Awards are also given, and they are also factual. We are stakeholders to all those types of studies. But we decided to pick the ghetto because we think that is where the money is.
Indeed. Thank you so much. That's Patson Gasula, our Top Line Research Solutions CEO, who is telling us a little bit about Zimbabwe best ghetto brands, promoting local brands in the market. And he did say that's one half of the consortium that came up with this report, the other half being Jocelyn Sitole of Sodeco. So look forward to hearing more about this in the very near future. Thanks so much to all of our listeners for locking on. And if you live in the ghetto, please harness all that power around you. Good night.
Yeah. Thank you.
The Exchange on Deep Dive.